Hey there and welcome. My name is Noah Belinder, and today we're talking about the history of dating. So, did you know that dating is this brand new concept to human history? It's only been around for about 100 years. We can trace the word date back to 1896, so not that long ago in the big scheme of things. So, how did we go about relationships in the past? Well, if we look back in history a few hundred years ago, the main way that relationships were gone about was through arranged marriages. So your parents would find someone, maybe they had a good amount of money or good status in society. They'd try to pair you up with someone who thought was a good match for you, and that's who you'd be with for the rest of your life. What's interesting is, throughout the history of arranged marriage, the idea of romantic love, this idea that we hold up as the number one thing in dating relationships today in marriage, it's like we're obsessed with love, romantic love. It's like if you don't love someone, if you don't have this romantic connection to someone, well, why would you ever date or get married? Well, back in the day, romantic love was not this huge, really important thing. In fact, it wasn't till around the 1830s, in North America at least, that romantic love was considered a pretty important factor when going about finding someone to marry. Anyway, arranged marriages weren't primarily about love in the past, but they still happen today, believe it or not. Lots of arranged marriages happen around the world, and the divorce rate among people who have had their marriages arranged by their parents is much lower than the divorce rate that we have here in North America and in Western Europe. So that's interesting. But let's go into the 1850s to about the year 1900 and talk about how dating was done during that period. So during that time, we had a system called the calling system. And ladies, it was a system that was controlled by you, and I'll get into and explain what that means. So basically, you'd have this lovely little card that would be your calling card. And if you found a man that you fancied, you'd give him this card and invite him to come to your home and call on you at a specified time. So this was obviously a little bit different than how relationships are typically gone about today, because culturally today, at least, it seems it's usually the man who initiates the relationship. Not always, but usually. So what I like about the calling system is that it does emphasize that the relationship happened in the lady's home. So what's good about this, even when you're dating today, it's good to be around the lady's family. And this way, her family, her mom, dad, brothers, sisters, really check this guy out. Make sure he's not some crazy guy, some psycho. We wouldn't want that, right? If I was a dad, I would probably like this system because it means that, my daughter's gonna bring the guy to my house. I can check this guy out for myself, make sure he's okay. When you're going about relationships today, yeah, you should really be hanging out around the lady's family. Ladies, bring the guy home, make sure your family can really assess him early, right? And for guys, don't be afraid to hang out with the lady's family, because you should be doing that. Moving into the early 1900s, we did have a pretty significant change was happening because a lot of people were getting cars, and the introduction of the automobile did begin to change how dating was done. And what happened is all of a sudden guys were pulling up in their vehicle to the lady's house, and maybe they'd spend a little bit of time there, but they would then take the lady away, take her into town, to the city, and they'd go on, I guess you could call it a date. So this transitioned the primary area of where the dating took place from inside of the lady's home to the public sphere. And it was common at this time to also have chaperones. So we could call this the courting system that came next. So there'd be a third party that would be there with you, kind of hanging out, making sure everything was going all right. And, courting does seem like kind of like this old school idea, and especially to have chaperones, to have someone come with you on a date. Most people don't do that. I don't think it's a bad idea either, though. And I'm not saying that every date you go on, you need to have a chaperone. But it is a healthy thing to have friends with you when you're dating that can be with you and kind of see how the relationship's going. So I wouldn't discourage that. I think it can be a good thing. Keep on going through history once we get into the 1920s to the 1930s. Chaperones, this whole thing, it slowly began to fade away. Dating in the 20s and 30s was very casual. So it was not uncommon for someone in the 30s to date multiple people in a month. And if you went to a dance, it would be kind of seen almost like a fail if you just danced with one person. You'd be hoping to dance with a whole bunch of people. So this system had some benefits. And one thing I do like about the dating system in the 20s and 30s is that it was very casual. So you're getting to meet a whole bunch of people. If you look at modern day dating today, you know, with the hookup culture, people hooking up on the first, second, third date, and then they break up and their hearts are just wrecked and they go through all this emotional trauma. The dating system of the 20s and 30s, it did to a degree protect against that because you weren't getting so emotionally deep with people because you weren't hanging out with them for long periods of time and you got to see a whole bunch of people, so you could kind of see personalities you liked and you didn't like. Moving on to the 1940s and 50s. So we get into the 40s, World War II was going on. A lot of the guys in North America were off in Europe fighting World War II and in the Pacific as well. And the New York Times magazine ran this article saying that there was going to be a whole bunch of women that were not going to be able to marry because there was going to be a shortage of men. So dating culture began to shift at this time from casual dates to this concept of going steady, which really became popular in the 50s, which more or less resembles to a degree how dating happens today in a lot of circumstances, at least. People would be dating for a longer period of time. Instead of just going on one or two quick dates, they'd be going on dates multiple times. And a good thing about this way of dating is that you really got to know someone a lot better. So if this is someone that you could picture yourself spending the rest of your life with, getting married to, great way to date, right? Because you're going to be able to see how they interact in different situations, how they act around their family, friends, under stress. So this is a good dating method, especially when you're ready to get married and you see someone you really like. So this is a real quick summary overview of some of the different ways of dating, how it's changed over time, how we've gone through relationships. So let me know in the comments what you think on these different dating styles if you'd like. And thanks for tuning into this video. We will see you around in the future.